Hey kids, we're a couple of annoyed grunt boys, and this is the 138th Simpsons podcast. That's right, we're the podcast that explores the American animated sitcom The Simpsons from seasons 11 and beyond, and the newest episodes when they're available. Why do we do it like this? Well, there are a ton of other podcasts that explore the quote-unquote golden age of The Simpsons, seasons 1 through 10, and we want to know if there's gold in the later seasons. Also, an entity known as the Wheel of Random has trapped us and forced us to watch these episodes in such a manner. And I say we because I can't do this on my own, so with me, as always, is the other annoyed grunt boy, Craig. What's up, Craig?
Oh, not getting any sleep and changing diapers, and boy, things are so different now. That's what you want me to say, right? Because I'm a dad. I'm going to change all my jokes to fatherhood jokes.
Yep, I can't wait to hear about diapers and daycare and pacifiers.
Yeah, and like picking up my kid from daycare, but accidentally switching babies.
Uh-oh.
No, yeah, everything's fine. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I mean, it's, is it weird adapting to having a new life in the household?
I mean, right now it's fine. It's, it's when kids develop a soul or a personality, then it'll be different. Right now, there's just a potato that likes to eat, shit, piss, and sleep,
Like me in my 20s.
Or you now.
Yeah, that's true.
But no one wants to hear about babies. They want to hear about TV.
Ah, yes. So TV is always good, and I love a sitcom. And on the website Reddit, r/sitcoms asked, what restaurant in sitcom land would you like to visit? And we thought, well, that's a great question, but why don't we make it about The Simpsons? So, Craig, what Simpsons restaurant or business would you like to visit?
Well, I mean, technically we can visit Krusty Burger or Moe's at Universal Studios, but I want to go into the real Simpsons world, That's all just cosplay, of course.
Right.
Would I actually want to go to Moe's? Probably not. I like a dive bar, but that's a little too divey for me.
Yeah.
Like, if a dive bar that actually serves food, we know that Moe's doesn't. But would Uncle Moe's Family Feedback be a place I'd go to? And the answer would be yes.
I would love to eat those $1 million fries.
Yeah. At Krusty Burger, actually the Krusty Burger offshore one, I think I'd want to go to that one.
Yeah, it'll always look so good.
Yeah. For businesses, maybe Stoner's Palace.
I don't know. I hear that place is a scam.
How about you?
I do like some ice cream, so I definitely want to stop by Phineas Q Butterfats, especially on my birthday.
But what's it called now?
PCB, is it?
Yeah, it was just the initials.
Yeah. I would love to go to the Happy Sumo, get some nice sushi.
And what was the fish?
Fugo?
Fugo, yeah.
But, I'm a fancy guy, so I gotta go to the Gilded Truffle. And have some fine dining. But also, I kind of want to stop by Luigi's because the Simpsons must really like it because they go there every week.
True. And then what about Lard Lad Donuts? We're in Portland where everyone talks about Voodoo Donuts, but we're like, you don't need to go to Voodoo. I think Lard Lad would be interesting, a place to go to. Actually, I'd like to go to the Springfield Isotopes stadiums. I'd like to watch a game there.
I would like to go to Cool Town, the opposing comic book shop, because I'm more of an indie comic book guy myself. I like Image Comics mostly, and while the Android's Dungeon and baseball card shop has its place, don't get me wrong, I just feel like they might have what I'm looking for a bit more.
I'd be remiss to not mention probably the best place to get some hamburgers, or maybe they're called steamed hams, and that'd be Skinner's Kitchen.
Ooh, yes.
Do we go to Duff Beer and take a tour? Or, I just think that Duff Beer is the equivalent of a Budweiser or Coors, right? So I think I'm good.
Yeah, I would try Duff Dark if they made it, but it's going to be disappointing.
Would you go to Cletus's farm and try some of his moonshine?
Ooh, maybe. But I feel like, I might go blind. Which means that I'd have to go to the eyeglass shop, I Carumba.
I know she's out of business, but I wouldn't mind trying one of Marge's pretzels from the pretzel wagon. I love a pretzel.
Ooh, yeah. I'd love to eat a Whitey Whacker.
What about the erotic cakes? Oh, that's probably the real world, though. That's when Homer and the Treehouse of Horror goes into the real world.
Yeah, it's true. He sucks at advertising, but I'd stop by the Leftorium and see what Ned has to offer.
And not a restaurant, but I would like to probably check out Noiseland Arcade. I think be fun to see what games they got there. And then maybe stop by Mart as long as Apu's working.
That'd be a great day to go to the Quickie Mart and then get a squishy.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of fun. And listeners, we want to know, what businesses would you like to visit in Springfield? So feel free to email us at 138simpsons@gmail.com or just drop us a line on our Instagram or threads at 138simpsons. But for now, let's go back in time all the way to November 14th, 2004. Craig, what was the number one movie in the box office?
What I consider the best Fantastic Four movie of all time, The Incredibles.
That movie is, as the title implies, incredible. It's a great movie.
Yeah. Just make that the Fantastic Four. That's all you need. I know they're making a new Fantastic Four movie, but, it's a great movie. I didn't see it in the theaters, but I surely have seen it plenty of times since.
Yeah. Did you ever see number 2?
The sequel.
Yeah.
I mean, I see number 2 like every couple hours, Steve. I change diapers.
Ah, that's right. You're a father now. I never saw the sequel, but I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, no. Steve, you have access to it right now. After this podcast, you can watch it on your Disney Plus.
Oh, that's true. Thanks for Disney Plus for just being so awesome. As corporations go, you're one of them.
Well, everyone was seeing The Incredibles, Steve. What was the number one song on the Billboard Hot 100?
Well, Craig, it sounds kind of scary, and it was just after Halloween, but it's called My Boo! By Usher and Alicia Keys.
Ah, yes, Usher. Super Bowl 20 performer. A Super Bowl halftime show performer, right? Forget what, 50-something maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, sure, and probably Alicia Keys did that at some point, too.
Sure.
Why not? But
do you think Alicia ever forgets her keys when she leaves her house?
Where are my me?
Do you think she's ever put her eye to a keyhole and realized, this keyhole was just painted?
What an ominous and odd thing to say. I'm sure that won't pay off at all in this next hour or two. But yeah, I'm sure she pats herself down and says, phone, me, wallet. But that wasn't the only song we were listening to, because the Billboard Hot 100, we couldn't get enough of it because it was on our damn phones. Vertigo by U2.
But no, Vertigo wasn't on our...
Oh, no, that's right. No. That was a song that showed that Bono doesn't know how to count, because in Spanish, he goes 1, 2, 14.
But you got to go to the Sphere in Vegas to see U2. I think they're done by now, but
yeah,
you got to go to the Sphere, Steve.
I'm going to go. I'll go next week. I promise.
All right. I think next week is Kid Rock.
Maybe the week after then.
It's Rob Schneider stand-up.
Maybe the week after that.
It's Arby's commercials.
Sure. I'll go see some Ving Rhames saying, "We got the meat," over and over and over again. But while I'm doing that, maybe I'll listen to the Hot 100 song on the country charts that week, "Inner Real Love" by Phil Vassar. You know, that country star Phil Vassar.
Yeah, he sounds like my dentist.
Yeah, Dr. Vassar.
Dr. Vassar. Yeah. Hey, I'm Phil. Here's my song. A country singer named Phil just doesn't... I mean, I'm fine with like a soft rock guy named Phil.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But Phil Vassar. I'm sure it's a great song, Steve. What was the hot dance electronic hot song?
Why, it was Surrender by Lasgo.
Oh, that was Cheap Trick. That's a great song by Cheap Trick.
Yeah, one of their best songs.
Out of the 4.
Yeah. I want that song to play for me.
All right. Let's go.
Let's go to this episode. All's Fair in Oven War, in which Marge concentrates on sabotaging a cooking competition, while Bart holds a Playdude party attended by Hollywood legend James Caan.
Oh boy, let's watch it.
That sounds great. Let's take a break, we'll watch it, and we'll be right back. And we're back. Today we're talking about All's Fair in Oven War, the second episode of the 16th season. It originally aired November 14th, 2004. It is episode 337 in the show's run. Your nerd code is FABF20. It was written by Matt Selman, directed by Mark Kirkland, and your showrunner is Al G.
All right. Matt Selman, or his full name would probably be Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
His middle name, I believe, is David. So Matt Dave Selman.
You tell him, Matt Dave.
And if we were to take his last name, Selman, and let's see, break down his last name, there's Sell, and Sell is, like peddling something, right? Like a peddler.
Yes.
And then man, I guess another word for man would be like a gent.
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably a pedal gent.
I like pedal gent.
So Matt Dave Pedal Gent.
Good old pedal gent.
All right, that's his new name. Go ahead and write Disney and Fox and let them know that Matt Selman has changed his name.
Indeed.
All right. Born on that cold September 9th in 1971 in Watertown, Massachusetts. Watertown, Massachusetts is no longer because of the flood.
Right.
And now it's a desert town.
Because of the drought.
Hey! Yeah, because of the drought. He's written 30 episodes of The Simpsons as of now.
Wow.
This is the 14th we've reviewed. His list goes on and on and on. We have 3 episodes, of course, we can never review.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be Natural Born Kissers from Season 9, Simpsons Bible Stories from Season 10, and They Saved Lisa's Brain, also from Season 10. But who knows? We're getting close to rounding up Season 11. I almost feel like, what if we got rid of, once we finished Season 11 within, I don't know, a year or so? Because we got 3 episodes of that. It's bound to get on those last 3 eventually.
Yeah.
What if we just snuck in Season 10 all of a sudden?
Maybe the Wheel of Random would allow it and it could seep in. I could see it happening.
Right. Because I really do want to talk about Simpsons Bible Stories. It's I've been edging that episode,
Much like a Christian boy on a night before his wedding.
Right. And then the next ones, we got 8 Misbehavin' from Season 11, Behind the Laughter from Season 11, which we haven't reviewed Behind the Laughter. 8 Misbehavin', we've reviewed that, right?
No, because I believe that is the one where he actually has the kids. We've only talked about
Apu.
Apu, yeah. But the ones that we've talked about are ones where he's regretting having the kids. Much like he does in this episode, actually.
Steve, I'll have you know, episode 152 of this podcast was 8 Misbehaving.
Oh, yeah, because that was Season 11, and whoever does the notes should be fired.
So then besides that, Lisa the Tree Hugger from Season 12. But then we got Trilogy of Air, Simpsons Tall Tales, Jaws Wired Shut, which we reviewed those. I don't want to bore everybody with all the ones that we've reviewed and haven't reviewed. But I'll say definitely Behind the Laughter is part of the top Selman episode I would like to talk about.
Yeah.
I haven't got to yet.
I think some surprising hits were that 90s show.
People might be confused, wait, I thought people hate that show. Did we like that 90s show?
Yes, I believe that we did. We were surprised that it wasn't as bad as we remembered, and I think that we kind of liked it more than we thought we would have.
Okay. But we still weren't fans of the change, but I think we accepted the change because you just have to change.
Right.
The continuity. I remember I'm looking at the list here, the Great Fatsby Part 2. We weren't fans of the Great Fatsby ones.
No.
Sky Police, that one stands out. That was our 67th episode, but I think we both actually enjoyed Sky Police.
Yeah, that was a goofy, kind of fun episode that I remember really liking.
Yeah. And also wrote that special Playdate with Destiny. You can watch on Disney Plus. And that's a fun one, right?
Yeah, we just talked about that with the Maggie episode that we just reviewed a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that episode. But yeah, we all know Matt Selman, not personally, but, he's up there on the Mount Rushmore of Simpsons employees.
Yeah, it's a very big mountain.
Yeah, there's, the Mount Rushmore for the voice actors and which probably would be 4 at least.
Yeah.
The non-Simpsons family. And then your all-time greatest of all time mountain, which would be, that's your Schwarzwelders and your Conans, I think. And, is Matt Selman up with them? I think there's many tiers of Simpsons writers.
Yeah, because you have Sam Simon and John Vitti. There's a lot of people that you got Bill Oakley, you got Josh Weinstein.
Right. We live in the Pacific Northwest. We should just go to the Cascade Mountain Range and just find a nice set of mountains. And we'll just etch all the Simpsons writers and cast into the mountains.
I like it.
So when we're in Portland looking up, we'll see the faces of Matt Groening and the rest.
Very nice, yeah.
But hey, Steve, we are in the old-timey Simpsons, of course, the season 16 with the 4:3 aspect ratio. If you guys have changed your Disney Plus version, make sure you're watching that on the 4:3, not the widescreen that you see on the FXX or any of the syndicated versions.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a couch gag, Steve.
That's right. The couch is outside, and it's connected to a catapult. Or is it a trebuchet? I never know. But the family sits and then is thrown into the air towards the mountains, maybe to Mount Springfield, where all the writers are etched in.
Those purple mountains, majesty, Steve.
I'm proud to be American, or at least I know I'm free.
Hey, that song, lyrics, they're in my Bible that I just got in the mail.
Nice.
Yeah. My leather-bound Trump Bible.
Just good on good on good.
Hey, not a political podcast or a religious podcast, but let's begin our episode, and it begins as it always does, with Homer, Marge, and Lisa watching some classic cinema on TV when Bart comes in with some exciting news.
We now return to Blackula meets Black Dracula.
I'm turning this disco into a hockey rink.
You mean a honky rink?
You know, Black Dracula is now a congressman from Virginia.
Bart, where did you get those? There's an open house next door. They're giving out cookies and business cards. Check it out. I'm a business jerk.
I just like Bart flinging business cards. This makes me laugh.
It's kind of like in the era where I feel like Bart said he's a something jerk, or Homer would say they're a something jerk.
Yeah. It seems like a very Homer thing to call something a blank jerk.
And then, of course, the Black Dracula and Blackula. I think we're turning this into a hockey rink, no, a honky rink. I mean, that's very funny.
It is. The thing, though, is that I was waiting to say the Blanche Black of Bloat or Blame, because I remember that, but this isn't the first time that Homer's enjoyed some 70s exploitation films, because there was a similar gag in Season 9, Episode 19, Crimson Tide, in which he was also watching Blackula meets Blackenstein and the Blanche Black of Bloat or Blame.
Whenever I hear of, like, Black Dracula or Blackula, I think of Scott Bakula.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's, like, a t-shirt out there that you can find that has, like, a picture of Scott Bakula as Dracula and says Blackula. I think it's a very funny shirt.
That's really funny.
This episode kind of has relevance to me because our next door neighbors just sold their house.
Oh, wow.
But in the day and age of Zillow, I didn't go over there for the open house because I could just look at pictures. But, coming up, it's very much like how Marge, I felt like how Marge felt.
Really?
Seeing all these pictures, because the neighborhood I'm in was all built in the 70s. And so, at the time, all the houses were pretty much the same, but our neighbors put so much work in modernizing it. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this looks nice in here. I got this piece of shit house from the 70s with shag carpet and wood panel wall and a fondue room.
With a bowl for keys.
Yeah.
So Homer and Marge go next door to the home where Ruth Powers once lived to check out the open house. Homer's apprehensive about buying because he doesn't want to live next door to himself. So we then get a thought bubble where he imagines 742 Evergreen Terrace rocking out to journeys separate ways, and himself, Homer, as the next door neighbor, yelling out the window to turn it down. Homer then faces himself in the other window, telling the first Homer, "Screw you," and hitting him in the head with a baseball bat.
Do you ever go to open houses just for fun? Like in your neighborhood, you're out for a walk, what's this about?
Not open houses, but I will always go to an estate sale if I walk by one.
Yeah, that's us too.
Because those are even creepier because you can buy their spices or something. It's just really a weird experience. But yeah, open houses, I've been to a few and they are really interesting and really fun.
I was at one estate sale and it was clearly, an older couple. Either they had died or moved to a retirement home, which is usually the case, right? But in the things of in the bedroom, them selling stuff, just laying out, there was one Playboy magazine, which is funny because, coming up with Playdude stuff that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking this must have been the dude's one and only jerk off material.
Oh man.
For 30 years. There's no way I'm buying that, of course.
Oh, God, no.
I'd be afraid to pick it up.
Ugh. Probably weighs like 3 pounds.
Yeah. But it's just also really funny, like, yeah, who wants this jerk-off mag from the 70s?
It is funny that it's hard to go to, like, any sort of vintage store or flea market and not see, like, a million Playboys.
Yeah, over the time, too. Like, when going to antique malls, you'll see a bunch of old ones. And there's been times where, we've talked about this on the podcast before, like, I was going to buy you, like, your birth month Playboy, but then decided against it, mostly because I didn't want to, like, go to the antique mall with the little old lady behind the cash register only purchasing one thing. It's an old Playboy.
Right.
That and, like, in the light of, like, realizing, like, Hugh Hefner was a big scumbag. Like, maybe he shouldn't be revered like, Bart does or,
Right.
in a way after this. But foreshadowing to later in the episode. But, yeah, no, I love an estate sale. The first estate sale I ever went to was with Heather, and I bought a waffle iron because for some reason I didn't have a waffle iron, which is weird. I don't know why I didn't have a waffle iron.
Yeah.
I would use what I would be using for my waffle iron. Sorry, weird tangent. Was like a George Foreman grill. I would just like prop it up and then put the waffle batter in there because it works the same, guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Actually, it was a lot easier too because then all of a sudden I had like waffle sticks.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Anyways, I bought this like old vintage waffle iron from I want to say either the late '60s, early '70s. But that's like when like shit was actually built really well.
Yeah.
So I have like a really nice like old waffle iron that still works and makes like the best waffles. So you can find cool stuff at estate sales.
Yeah, I really worry about in today's modern age of like disposable appliances and replacing everything 2 years. Like, are estate sales just going to cease to exist because nobody buys that item that's going to last them forever anymore? Like, even your TV or whatever, 5-7 years, you want to get a new one and then you'll just toss the other one. Like, so many things are like that nowadays.
Yeah, I don't have like 3 broken TVs just hanging out in the basement.
Right.
Yeah, why? How do we get rid of this stuff? I have to pay someone more money than it is worth buying a new TV to take it out of here.
Exactly.
Maybe, can I just like bury them?
Ooh, good idea.
Okay. I'll bury them next to the reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, Marge assures Homer that they are just looky-loos, only there to compare their lifestyle to their neighbors, which is what I was trying to get to, is like what you kind of do at open houses. And what I did when I was on Zillow. Homer finds it unfair to compare the Simpsons to an American household. When Marge does a looky-loo inside, she finds a beautiful, very modern kitchen complete with stainless steel everything. A kitchen island with hanging pots and pans, and even a Sub-Zero fridge.
Ooh.
Yeah, which would be great for that character in Mortal Kombat.
Scorpion.
Yes. So Homer is even amazed by a slightly colder fridge in his lifetime, pulling a duff out at the expense of the kitchen appliance.
I just like that he helps himself to the beer.
If it's an open house and it's there, might as well, right?
It's not a closed house, so
nope.
Get that beer open. Marge is impressed with the kitchen, saying it's what she's always wanted. And then she notices a bread maker, which at the time was very relevant bread makers, I feel, which opens up to create a smaller bread maker, which spits out a piping hot loaf of bread. Homer's impressed as well, especially with the walk-in microwave. So he spins inside of the machine, holding a bag of microwave popcorn, asking Marge to press stop once the popcorn is done. With 1 minute and 48 seconds left, Homer's hair bursts into flames, and there are probably still a few unpopped kernels because microwave popcorn sucks.
But, sometimes, Steve, when you're in a pinch, you have to use the microwave popcorn,
I am anti-microwave. We don't have one. I am a big proponent of stovetop popcorn. It takes the same amount of time. You have to do one more dish, but it's so much better.
There are some useful applications for a microwave, and I'll use them for that. But
yeah.
And usually what my microwave is used for now is just a timer.
Sure, yeah.
That's about it. Now I'm trying to think, what do I...
It is good for melting butter, I'll admit that.
I don't like using it. I take a little pot and put the butter in there and melt it that way.
That's true, too. That's just as easy.
Yeah, you're right. I don't really use my microwave that much. It's just there because it's above my stove, and that's where the vent is. So It's kind of like I have it there. Enough about that, Steve. So back in her own kitchen, Marge opens up a cabinet, which breaks off in her hand. And then she opens the silverware drawer, and then the bottom falls out, spilling the cutlery everywhere. And then she goes to open the fridge. And what I got to say is this is one of the funniest rule of 3 jokes, because you're expecting the door to the fridge to break, but then the back of her dress rips. I don't know. I just think this was well-written and well-crafted joke.
So funny. Because, you expect the fridge to break because its kitchen's crappy, but it's her dress. It's really good.
Yeah. So then she confronts Homer saying that when they were married, she knew they would never live in luxury. And Homer says he proudly kept that promise, and then away of the kitchen table rakes.
So Marge, seeing the other kitchen, wishes that they had something a little bit better. Homer offers to build a new kitchen, which Marge finds to be sweet, but suggests that they hire a professional contractor. Homer's taken aback, thinking that contractors are the biggest crooks around, charging for both material and labor. Pick one, jerks.
Well, so Homer gets to work on the new kitchen, carefully selecting tools for his job. So he pulls out a saw, a screwdriver, and a level from the toolbox. He then just takes them out and begins smashing. So he destroys a cabinet or two, and then the countertop, and then he hits a plug, electrocuting himself. So the shock knocks him into the fridge, leaving an indent. So after commenting how much it hurt, he gets up to do the exact same thing again. And yet, again, he shocks himself. So Marge suggests that he turns off the power in a very, angry way. And Homer reluctantly agrees, demolishing along the way, despite, of course, Marge's wishes.
So while tearing down the kitchen, Homer removes a light fixture, which causes several issues of Playdude magazine to spill all out of the ceiling onto the floor, including one with the cover, "The Girls of Kent State, Fornude in Ohio."
Now, I know this has happened a good, 20 years after probably the event of the Kent State?
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like it was, too soon for this joke.
Well, the fact that the bikini babes on the cover are, standing next to a dead body. Yeah.
It's one of the funniest, darkest jokes I think The Simpsons has done.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak.
It is so bleak.
I like it.
But how does Neil Young feel about it?
As a Southern man, pretty bad.
I think it was a bad joke. I guess neither one of us has a Neil Young impersonation. No, I don't know. It just kind of sounds like we're doing a Mickey Mouse, but not as high and more angry. Yeah, a subdued Michael Jackson. Harvest Moon. Yahoo!
All right. So Marge is offended by the softcore pornography, but Homer assures her that it's just for the reading material.
Playdude magazines? Have you been hiding bosom rags from me?
Trying to.
These magazines are from before we were married. Maybe you should throw them away.
But I need them for the articles.
The articles, eh? So, you wouldn't mind if I cut out all the erotic nudes?
Of course not. Why would I want to look at a nude woman I'm not even married to? I mean, I wouldn't even know how she could improve me.
I'm not wearing any clothes, so why don't I just splay myself on a pool table?
Steady.
Okay, here's your precious articles.
Thanks, Marge. I can't wait to read about sport fishing with Sonny Jurgensen. Oh! What man would want you now?
I love the little joke when Marge is saying, hey, these magazines were from before we were married. Were you trying to hide these from me? He's like, yeah.
Trying to.
I'm trying to.
I mean, he's pretty successful. They're from the 70s, so a good 20 or 30 years of, hiding the pornography is pretty good.
So it's in the floorboards. So how does he get them in there? What's above the kitchen there?
Well,
they get the floor plans again.
Yeah, because I assume that it would be a bedroom of some kind. Maybe they hid him under, Lisa's bed or something.
Well, it's maybe it's just they lift open, a rug. There's, wood panels. One's loose, and he opens it up and then just gets it from there.
Yeah.
It's plausible. I'll allow it.
Okay. What's your experience with Playboy magazine?
Well, I didn't read the articles or look at the pictures. I just was really interested in the advertisement, Steve. So I just drank a lot of hard alcohol and smoked a lot of cigarettes.
That sounds about right. It's like going rafting with a pack of Newports.
I had this kid in middle school. I got a magnetic stud earring, from my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put it, on my nose or on my ear. It was in 6th grade or whatever for a day or whatever. And I was like, this is cool. Everyone thinks I got a pierced ear or whatever. But it was just a magnet. And this kid was like, this is really cool. I'll give you a Playboy for that.
Wow.
Like, yeah, why not? Like, it was a Playboy magazine, but it wasn't like a issue with articles. It was just like the lingerie special.
Oh.
So it was all just pictorials by like women in their lingerie. It was like a rated R Victoria's Secret.
Right,
you know?
right.
So yeah, I had that until I hit it somewhere. I can't find it. How about you, Steve?
In my 20s, I was living with a girlfriend, and she gifted me a subscription to Playboy.
Nice.
Yeah, which was kind of weird. But in magazines in general, I'm bad about reading them because I'll get them in the mail, I'll flip through them once, and then I'll put them on a shelf and never look at them again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exactly what I did with the Playboy magazines. I was like, oh yeah, she's attractive. I should read that article at some time. And then I just never looked at them. So I probably had like 2 years worth that I ended up just probably recycling or something.
Yeah. And like the older you get, the less you care about seeing the like naked ladies with implants and just fake looking, you know?
Well, yeah. And like Playboy is so notorious for like editing their photos to be like just not human. Like they're just weird, like Barbie dolls of people.
Yeah. No, it's not, it doesn't appeal to this guy right here.
Yeah, me neither.
Like the only thing that I get, like the one magazine, I don't subscribe it anymore because like I don't need it, but that got me pretty hard was the Food Network magazine. So,
oh yeah.
But like you said, like the stack, like I have a stack of all my Food Network magazines because I was like going to go and take all the recipes out and then put them in a binder.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be a project of mine, but I just have like a stack of old Food Network magazines. And thinking like I'll do it one day, but then I'm like, you know, I could just go on with their website and just find this recipe anytime I want. It's a lot easier than looking through a magazine for the recipe.
Yeah, I'm the exact same with Bon Appetit. Like, we have a subscription to that, and usually if I find a recipe, I either found it on their YouTube page or, yeah, just online, and there's no reason to me to look at paper.
And especially if like the print's small and you have that book in your hand, like you try to enlarge the print with your
pinching it.
fingers, you can't.
Yeah, forever.
Right.
And you can't close out the ads either.
All right, Steve, back to The Simpsons. Homer tosses the magazines he now finds useless in the backyard trash can, where they are found by none other than Bart and Milhouse. So the young Van Houten lad thinks that the blossoming of Milhouse can begin. But when they check them out in Bart's treehouse, they fail to see the hubbub, finding only cutout silhouettes of naked women. So Milhouse points out one hot lady he finds, saying that she can calamine his hives anytime. But as Bart points out, it's just a picture of Congresswoman, lawyer, and social activist Bella Abzug. Milhouse replies with a "Ciao, Bella." And Steve, that kind of confirms Milhouse's Italian heritage, which I don't think we learned about until a couple seasons later.
That's true. Going back to his Italian roots.
I saw Italian roots. Roberto Benigni in blackface as Kunta Kinte was problematic at best.
I'm a slave. Maybe life isn't so beautiful.
Jesus.
So Bart finds the adults in the magazine to be pretty cool, which inspires him to redecorate the treehouse to make it look like a swinging bachelor pad. Then he adds they could have orgies, whatever they are. Milhouse says that they could be Playdude playmates, and then the two boys spin around holding hands, chanting, "We are Playdude playmates, we are Playdude playmates."
You know, as a kid, I was so confused because they had the term Playboy playmates, and then my toys, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, were made by Playmates.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really confused. I'm like, wait, my Turtles are Playmates brand toys, and then these ladies are Playboy playmates. Like, I don't get it. Like, why is there,
Yeah.
Those are two Playmates?
That is very confusing. And like, yeah, as a kid, you know the term playmates. I was also confused because as a heterosexual male, I thought Playgirl would be what I would want because I like girls.
Sure.
You know, like, that was also confusing to me as a child because I had heard of both Playboy and Playgirl, and I'd think, well, I want to play girl, not play boy because I like girls.
Right. And then you would
Very
read like
confusing.
old Batman comics and be like, millionaire Playboy Bruce Wayne. I'm like, wait, so he's naked in those magazines too?
Maybe I do want this.
I want to see Bat Dong.
Yeah.
No, not like from an actual bat, but Bruce Wayne's dong. God,
Right.
that weird, Steve.
Do you think he poses with it like hanging upside down?
Remember that scene in the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton where he is just like he goes to bed with Kim Basinger, Vicky Vale, and then she wakes up like after a night of adult relations, and he's just like hanging from like a bar upside down in the bedroom like a fucking bat.
Oh yeah, that's really funny.
Like, this is a stupid scene. It's so dumb.
That feels like Tim Burton being like, let's make this literal.
Yeah. Like, even as a kid, I'm like, this is kind of silly. I hope Rob Pattinson does it in the next Batman movie, though.
Yeah, or maybe like the new Penguin show on HBO, they can have a cameo with Batman hanging upside down.
All right, well, back in the kitchen, Homer finishes the ceiling, making it nice and smooth. So he tells Marge he'd like to see her boyfriend, the contractor, do a better job. So then the camera zooms out to show that the ceilings are about, like 4 feet from the ground, causing Marge to suggest that Homer use too much plaster. And Homer wishes she had told him sooner, but she's like, I never stopped telling you that. And then he realizes, oh, that was the white noise I was hearing. Marge decides to call a contractor, punching through the plaster to grab the phone from the wall.
I mean, it's pretty smart of Marge to know where the phone is in relation to where they are, and it's pretty good reach.
Right.
So J&J Construction, the vague answer people, arrive at the Simpsons homestead to remodel the kitchen. Marge apologizes for Homer being so difficult as he hides behind a tree. He then flings a can of paint at the contractor, shouting, "Get lost, crook!" And so the J&J worker tells Marge that many husbands feel emasculated when their wives must turn to a professional to satisfy their remodeling needs. Homer asks why the worker doesn't just kiss Marge, but as the worker explains, he's gay. He does, however, have a subcontractor who does that sort of thing, and then we see this creepy big-mouthed worker with white overalls saying, "I like a kiss," while he smacks his lips. I like that guy.
Yeah, I wonder if this character design is based off of someone. Like, not the character, but like the model for the character. Like, it could have been like a writer, just throwing the joke at them.
Yeah, I could see that. Kind of looks like Mike Reese, maybe?
That's kind of what I was thinking, too. Like, is this Mike Reese? Anyway, so the contractor assures Marge that her kitchen will be done in 3 weeks, and then we cut to 2 years later.
Solid joke. That's great.
I mean, we've seen that joke many times on, like, when Bart's, like, trying to get something in the mail. It's, like, 6 to 8 weeks later, 3 weeks and then 2 years later. I know that's just a joke, but in my mind, Bart's 12 and Lisa's 8 through the rest of this episode.
Right.
And also, I have a theory, because I remember this episode, after watching it, I had a big complaint, and I will get to it at the end, or should I just do it now? I'll get to it.
Well, yeah, give the anticipation.
Because if it is, and if we have this assurance that this is 2 years later, then I'm totally fine with what I'll say at the end of the episode.
Okay, well, I can't wait to hear that.
I know you aren't. So yeah, Marge is pleased because, the dream kitchen's done and she can finally have a space of her own where she can create the perfect thing for the potluck at the First Church of Springfield, who has a friend in cheese puffs.
When Virginia Woolf wrote "Every woman needs a room of one's own," she must have been talking about the kitchen.
What's the first thing you're going to make in your new kitchen?
How about cooking up some money because this stupid kitchen cost $100,000?
I was thinking of chicken wings.
Those are good, too.
Same old stuff. Meatloaf, casserole, tuna loaf, loafer roll, castle loaf.
Marge, Simpsons wasabi buffalo wings?
Oh, an Eastern twist on a Western New York favorite. These wings are going straight to my thighs, and I say bon voyage.
What do you think, Thomas Pynchon?
These wings are delicious. I'll put this recipe in the Gravity's Rainbow Cookbook, right next to the frying of Latka 49.
All right. Hey, the beginning when Marge was talking about Virginia Woolf, what about every woman needs a room of her own? But not getting the point of what she wrote was because, it was about a kitchen, but that's kind of Virginia Woolf was talking about the woman needs her own room of like not being that stereotype of a woman, right?
Right.
The idea of a woman back in them olden days.
The good old days, some would say. Not me, though.
Not me either, Steve. I don't want America great again.
Right.
And then we had at the end Thomas Pinchon, Steve, and he wearing a paper bag over his face. And I feel like we've had a couple references about him in the past.
Yeah, so this is the first time that he's appeared on the show, but he'll appear again in season 15's Diatribe of the Mad Housewife. And what's funny is originally he had a line which was supposed to say, Marge Simpson is a great cook, no wonder Homer's such a fat ass. But Thomas Pynchon helped write his own material, and he refused to say that line because he said that Homer is his role model, and he doesn't want to speak ill of him like that.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
Yeah, I just love the idea of like a writer being like, no, we can't talk about Homer that way.
Just by calling him a fat ass, and like that's offensive to Thomas.
Also, look at us, talking about Virginia Woolf, Thomas Pynchon. We're a regular literary podcast.
And fat asses.
Yeah, that's true too.
Well, not
speaking of fat asses, what do you think about these wasabi buffalo wings?
Well, Steve knows I have this aversion to that certain flavor of wasabi, and the wasabi flavor like that, and like horseradish, spicy mustards. To me, that all just tastes like paint thinner. It must be like a genetic thing, or like some people when they eat cilantro, they taste soap.
Yeah, and I totally get that because that profile of spice is really the only spice that I can handle or enjoy.
Yeah, it's not about the spice at all. It's just the flavor tastes like I'm drinking paint thinner or tasting paint thinner. So there must be some sort of weird taste bud like that's off on it for me. It just tastes like I'm eating poison. Like literally, I'm eating poison. It's usually I could eat anything, right?
Right.
But if I put something like that in my mouth, like if you got a restaurant, I order something and I bite into it and it has that flavor, like I literally cannot eat it. So it could be an allergy. I've never had tested. But that could it could be an allergy. Who knows? Like I love sushi, but I can't put wasabi on my salmon. I'll put the ginger on. I'll use some soy sauce, but I will not use the wasabi.
Interesting. Yeah. I do like wasabi to an extent. Like I just take a little bit of it. But these wings are like vibrantly green, which means that Marge used a lot of wasabi.
Yeah.
So, like you say, like for a lot of people, wasabi is reminiscent of paint thinner or like something really chemically. And so I feel like the fact that it's a crowd favorite is surprising.
I like how just like Lenny just takes like a bite in a weird way from like the drum part. You almost just like bit right into the bone.
Huh.
And this is also the 2004 where we don't have the wing culture we do now with thanks to Sean Evans and Hot Ones. When did wing culture really become a thing? I know like Hooters restaurants have been around since like the late 70s, early 80s maybe.
Yeah, but I feel like I know that they always served wings, but I feel like that wasn't like. I mean, they might have wings, but I feel like the breasts were really the draw.
I get it. Yeah, so I'm not going to eat those. So don't give me the gift of Marge's wings at the end of this episode.
Fair enough. I don't think I'd eat them too, so you don't need to do that as well.
All right.
But Sideshow Mel, however, agrees with his fellow Cornell alumnus, no, not Andy Bernard, but Thomas Pynchon, and gives Marge a huzzah. The rest of the potluck attendees huzzah as well, as Marge asks for huzzah for Homer, who paid for the family's new kitchen, but Mel shouts, never!
Yeah, we also like $100,000 for that kitchen, too.
Yeah, in 2004.
Like Homer could have bought, this is before the market crash, 2008, so Homer probably could have bought another house for that price.
Yeah, they could have bought the house next door.
Right, which was probably only like $80,000.
And then they could listen to Journey Separate Ways, and he could have hit himself in the head with a baseball bat.
Ooh, that's something I'm going to do after we record this episode. I like it.
Yay.
While grocery shopping at the Quickie Mart, Marge runs into Ned Flanders, who once said that he was Springfield's Wing Ding King. I mean, he's the Dong King. We know that. But
yeah.
But Marge's cooking makes this chicken look like cock-a-diddly-doo-doo. Marge is impressed with Ned's turn of phrase as he goes on to say that he was going to enter the Oven Fresh Bake-Off, which conveniently has a display right next to him. But against Marge, he worries that he wouldn't have a Hindu's chance in heaven. Lisa hands Marge an entry form saying that if she wins, she'll be the new face of Auntie Oven Fresh. Marge looks at the form, which features a woman mixing a bowl with a question mark on her face. So Marge envisions her own head there, saying to herself that it's either her or, and then the head morphs into fucking Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're just... So there's a dark joke with the Kent State joke, but then, like, Hitler? Like, that's the first thing that comes to Marge's mind is Hitler?
Yeah, like, if she doesn't win, Hitler wins.
Which, hey, not a political podcast, but if Biden doesn't win in 2024, Hitler wins, guys.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. And, like, Biden sucks, but it could be a lot worse. Again, not a political podcast.
As dark as that joke is, I thought it was great.
Yeah, really funny. And also the fact that it comes from Marge's mind. I like that. I like to see her perspective of things.
You like Marge thinking of Hitler. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he was a decent painter.
Stylish dresser, too. Always wearing Hugo Boss. Looking good.
Driving around in a BMW.
Mm-hmm. I mean, kind of a hot bachelor. Nice threads, good car. Owns his own business. Anywho, Marge thinks it would be a hoot to have her face on everything, and Apu spurs her to go for it, saying one must pursue their dreams. Like his old dream of coming to America and starting a family. Or his new dream of ditching his family and seeking back to India in disguise. Apu then puts on a blonde wig and sunglasses, and changes his accent saying, Apu? Never heard of him. My name is Steve Barnes.
I think we should just make it canon. I know we'll see Apu in many episodes later, but since they want to get rid of Apu on the show, just make this canon. Make him Steve Barnes, which again can happen because we're 2 years into the future, Steve.
That's true.
All right. Well, Bart and Milhouse, both in smoking jackets, continue to flip through the edited pages of Playdude while listening to The Essential Miles Davis on vinyl. And I just had like this visceral memory of being a teenager and seeing that cover with that font of The Essential of an artist and the gray cover. I'm like, dude,
oh yeah, me too.
A bunch of those Essential albums that were always the nice price of your Sam Goodies for like, $7.99, $8.99 for that CD. Definitely a lot of fond memories of those CDs. Anyways, Milhouse doesn't quite get it, but Bart explains until he's called away by Marge.
So, when do they start singing? Well, the Playdude advisor says this music will get a stewardess to give you a layover. I hope it's in Omaha. My Grammy lives there.
Bart, can you come in here for a second?
Your mother's about to show us her new recipe.
Out of sight. Lay it on me, Mama.
In the Oven Fresh Bake-Off, clever presentation is as important as taste. So I'm entering my dessert dogs. It's deep-fried cookie dough with meringue buns, cherry ketchup, and caramel mustard.
It's dessert, but it's hot dogs, so it's good for you.
Marge, I don't want to freak you out, but I think I love you.
I hope the Oven Fresh Bake-Off likes them as much as you do.
I love that kid mentality of like, well, I'm eating a hot dog, so it's healthy, even if it's a candy.
Just... Right. Because hot dogs are healthy.
A kid would think it's healthy because, it's a hot dog. I don't,
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I'm not eating sugar. I'm eating a hot dog. So it's got to be good for me.
Right. I've had hot dog for dinner, so hot dog healthy.
Right. Exactly.
I also love the Milhouse's logic of hoping that the layovers in Omaha so he can visit his Grammy. It's really cute.
They don't know layover means intercourse.
Exactly.
Would you eat one of these dessert dogs?
So, no shade to Marge. I feel like they'd be sickly sweet.
Yeah. I had popular cookie chain recently where, if you bite a cookie, they might maybe crumbs, that kind of cookie chain.
Yeah, the crumbs that fall apart.
Yeah. And I never had them before, so I had them, and I'm like, wow, these are just overly sweet, like way too sweet. Like, I'm like, how do people finish these? Have you had one of their cookies, Steve?
I have not, but I've heard about them, and just looking at them, they feel like a lot.
Yeah. It's definitely like if you want one, share. It's so super sweet. But yeah, that's what I thought about Marge's dessert dogs as well. It's like, if I was Bart's age at this time, which of course he's 12 in this episode, from now on.
Of course.
I probably would have loved it, but yeah, it's a little too much sugar for me.
Yeah, I know that there's I've seen online people doing banana dogs.
Yeah.
Where you take like a hot dog bun and put a banana in there, and then you put like whipped cream or whatever. And that I could see working, although I don't know. I don't need this tasty fake.
Yeah. Well, you know what else I found that I find more enjoyable is we recently got some thin Oreos. And for the longest time, I never wanted to purchase them because no, I need the whole Oreo. I need it to be classic and, I need that flavor. And then when I bit into the thin Oreo, they're so much better. You just get this nice, thin wafery cookie flavor and then just a little bit of the frosting. You get what you want, but it seems more crisper and more refreshing in a way of your sugar fix.
Huh.
Yeah. So the mint ones, I highly recommend those Oreo thin mint ones.
That sounds good.
We're not sponsored by Oreo, but we'd love to be because, hey, they're for everyone. Even a vegan can have an Oreo.
It's true. They're delicious, too.
So get those thin Oreos, Steve. That's my recommendation for the week.
Alrighty. Also, when we're talking about thin foods, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, top tier candy, but I feel like in recent years it's kind of fallen off. The Reese's Thin Cups, also a delight. The ratio just seems better. I've been putting them in my lunch at work. It's been a nice treat.
Do you have a Simpsons lunchbox that you take to work?
Maybe.
With the old, plastic thermos?
I put soup in there.
Yeah.
Minestrone.
You got some apple or orange slices and then, a little handful of Cheez-Its.
And then a PB&J with the crust cut off.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I did notice that when Marge put the dessert dogs recipe in the envelope, and the address to Oven Fresh appears to be in a city called Oven Fresh, Illinois, with the zip code 60876. But that's not an actual Illinois zip code. But I think we recently established that Springfield might be in Illinois, but it moves and whatever.
Yeah, it's the it's either it's the border of Wisconsin and Illinois, but you're right. It's Illinois.
But anyway, 6 weeks later, Marge is reading the morning edition of the Springfield Shopper, which has the headline, Father of 8 Missing, and shows a picture of a poo. Lisa steps in, saying that they've received a letter from Oven Fresh Industries. Marge eagerly asks her to open it, and Lisa does, and begins to read the letter out loud. It first thanks Marge for applying to the bake-off, and adds that every year, many wonderful cooks fail to qualify. So Marge lets out a defeated sigh, but Lisa continues to read, saying, but screw them, you're in, congratulations. I love that the Oven Fresh people wrote, screw you. Yeah. Screw them, rather. Marge is pleased as punch. Someone somewhere says that she's better than someone else, which I think is also very funny. Homer says that he's proud, and then continues to read his newspaper, the New Delhi Daily, which reports on Steve Barnes opening up a convenience store, which is funny for a lot of reasons. One, why is Homer reading an Indian newspaper? Why is their top story is somebody opening up a convenience store? Just all around, just a lot of fun.
But it's a nice throwback to Apu's sea story that we never see, but it's completed here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we go to the Wiggum household, and Ralph cries loudly, and Chief Wiggum regretfully tells his son that the Oven Fresh rejected his recipe, and Ralph wanted to be in the bake-off, but Clancy tries to be supportive, saying that he finds his grilled crayon sandwiches to be delicious. But Ralph remarks that his father only had a pretend bite, but he assures him that he's eating it. So then he takes a big bite and regrets it immediately. Ralph asks if his dad can taste the thumbtacks, and Clancy responds with a, oh crap. And I wanted to make something from this episode for you to try, so, as a father now, I got crayons everywhere, so I figured...
of course.
And Wonder Bread, so I grilled this up for you, Steve. It's a grilled crayon sandwich. With a
Did you use Crayola, or did you use some Rose Art bullshit?
No, I used Crayola, Steve. Nothing but the best for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It really tastes the burnt sienna. Silver in there.
I didn't know if I should have kept the paper on, the little paper wrap on the crayon, and I did.
Yeah, there it is. Ugh.
Wait, no, Steve, sorry. You just ate my Arby's sandwich.
Ew. Ugh. Gross.
Here, have my crab juice.
Thank God it's not Mountain Dew. Look.
Oh, that is my Mountain Dew.
Ugh. Gross.
Antsy.
All right. The Springfield Convention Center is holding the Oven Fresh Bake Off, and the banner outside warns that the first 10 rows may get fat. Kent Brockman reports on the event, while Bart brings his Playdude attitude to the schoolyard of Springfield Elementary, wearing his Hugh Hefner-esque smoking jacket and brandishing a bubble pipe.
I'm here live at the annual Oven Fresh Bake Off, brought to you by the Oven Fresh Flour family of products, including Lil Fatso cupcakes, Drizzler's gravies, American Pride radar guided missile systems, and Quetzalcoatl's Choice Mexican foods. Quetzalcoatl's Choice, the favorite from Zihuatanejo to Popocatépetl.
Bart looks different today.
Oh, Nelson, your debonair wit reminds me of a young Mort Saul.
Guh?
Listen up, ring-a-ding-dingers. I'm throwing a little sip-and quip at the Playdude Treehouse. Saturday night at the top of the ladder. Be there or be square.
I want to be a triangle.
You're not invited.
Oh, poor Ralph.
Aw.
First clip, of course, was Ken Brockman reporting at the Bake Off. We see Bart's fun little Hugh Hefner smoky jacket. And I noticed, like, he's got an embroidered bee on the jacket. Did he buy it that way, or did he have, like, Marge embroider it for him, or?
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe Hugh Hefner had a garage sale.
Maybe he stole it from Billy Barty. I'm not sure if Billy Barty ever hung out the mansion, but maybe he did.
Yeah, he went up on a couple women.
All right, Steve. Hey, Marge arrives at the bake-off, telling Lisa that it'll be weird cooking without a tipsy Homer grabbing her from behind, but she thinks she's capable. Do you have a tipsy partner grabbing you from behind when you're cooking?
Sometimes, yeah, but a lot of times I'm the tipsy partner who's cooking. And
So it's you.
Yeah, I grab myself.
Yeah, me too. So she walks by many of her future opponents, including Lunch Lady Dora, Smithers, Jaspers, Ruth Powers, because she just moved, and Manjula. Now I noticed Manjula, she's got a nice smile on her face, so she's gotten over the fact that Apu's left.
Maybe she's a little relieved.
Right. So yeah, she's happy, and wouldn't you be, Steve, if they finally got rid of Apu?
I mean, I like Apu, but he is a little problematic, so I don't know.
Marge is then greeted by mascot Billy Bullion Cube, who leads her to her oven station, and Marge thanks the costume mascot who begs her not to look into his human eyes before running off.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Stuart, a fellow baker and, just an all-around stereotype of an older gay man, assures Marge that Billy Bullion Cube is harmless, adding that his oven light is on, but nothing is cooking. He then asks Marge what she's making a special effort to read her name tag. So Marge reads his name tag as well, saying Stuart, that she's making a dessert that looks like a hot dog, but isn't. Stuart is surprised that she's making what he calls a tasty fake, saying that is so 90s.
Was that a thing in the 90s, like making... Because I feel like now we have this whole... And there's a TV show about, is it cake or not?
Uh-huh.
So were they doing that in the 90s?
I think that it might have been, like, more of a culinary trend, but I think that at the time, like, the novelty that we experience now wasn't there, so it was kind of, like, mocked because it was just, like, high-end people doing that.
Okay.
But I don't know, I mean, I might be wrong.
High-end, like Carvel making Fudgy the Whale. It's a cake, but it looks like a whale.
Exactly, it's very confusing, like, we're not supposed to eat whales, but that cake looks really good.
Yeah. Remember in the new episode of The Boys when Homelander comes down to those people that created him, offers him a Fudgy the Whale? Oh, you don't watch that show.
Sounds entertaining, though. I'd watch it.
Yeah. I was going to say, hey, Steve, I'll be Homelander and you be the scientist Marty and do what Homelander tells him to do in front of me. Since you don't know what that's about, I'm not going to explain it, but fans of The Boys will understand and maybe have a laugh at my joke.
Alrighty. Inside humor, the best humor. For everybody.
Just for the people that watch The Boys.
Do it for the boys. Speaking of boys, Stuart then invites Marge to move to Seattle and use slow modems, because that is also so 90s. Modems, nobody has a modem. Like, nobody has a modem anymore. Nobody goes to Seattle anymore.
Yeah, if you guys want to go to Seattle, go 2 hours north to Bellingham, because that's like Seattle from the 90s. If they want the Seattle from the 90s, that's all I'm going to say.
Or go 2 hours south and go to Olympia, which is also Seattle in the 90s.
Yep. Actually, I enjoy Olympia. It's fun. Okay, anyways.
I like Olympia. Yeah, it's a nice little town. Luigi adds, Marge, your recipe, she pathetic. But Marge assures him that she's not pathetic.
So in Bart's treehouse, now transformed into the Playdude Mansion, Springfield, a sign is hung outside saying, "You must be cooler than this to enter," and it shows a picture of Millhouse. And I think if we ever do a tour, like live podcasts, I think we should have that outside our poster, like outside the venue.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's ever going to see us live. So inside, a hip party is underway with the children playing Take 5, made, of course, famous by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. As Bart compliments the great licks, Nelson walks up to him in some tidy, whitey underwear, but it says Speedo. So is it underwear or is it Speedos? Does Speedo make underwear as well?
I think they do, but I think that because Nelson can't afford Speedo, he wrote Speedo, because I think that's the joke, is because it looks like just like a Fruit of the Loom or whatever, pair of tidy whities, and I think because usually Speedos are like thongs or like more revealing, but I think he wanted to be hip, so he's like, just wrote Speedo in Sharpie.
Okay, I like that. I didn't understand that joke, so thanks for explaining. No, I really didn't. That makes it.
It took me a few, this is the first time I noticed it.
Yeah, because I saw like the lines where the crotch is at, that's where you're supposed to pull your junk out, which I never did. I just pulled my underwear down.
Go through.
Did you ever do that?
No, you go over the fence, not through the knothole.
Yeah. What the fuck is this for?
Like if you had to pee and you were like in a rush, like you can't like reach over. Yeah.
What am I doing? What? I don't know who designed it, but and then it just looks weird because you just got like your dick hanging out with like no like ball showing.
Mm-hmm.
You look like Gonzo from Muppets.
Is yours blue?
So anyway, I was trying to fuck a chicken. Isn't that what Gonzo does? Yeah. So, Milhouse is telling Bart in his tidy whities that there's no room left in the grotto. So we pan over to see that it's a kiddie pool and an older man in a swimsuit in the little kiddie pool. And Milhouse asks who the adult is, and Bart responds that it wouldn't be a Playdude party without James Caan. No, not that one, Steve. Who shares a celebrity story before getting some quality time with Edna Kay. Meanwhile, in this clip, the Oven Fresh Bake Off is just getting started.
So, I'm trying to talk with Miss November, and Charlie Callis over here is blocking my action with zit-woot, zit-woot-woot. Turns out he's choking on a peanut. Well, punch to the gut cleared that right up. Hey, Bart, me and Mrs. Crabapple, we're gonna go play some backgammon, if you know what I mean.
I don't, but I hope you win.
Oh, he's gonna win.
Some guys like a challenge, not me.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, let us introduce Anti-Oven Fresh 1954.
Ribbons and trophies are no comfort on your deathbed.
Anti-Oven Fresh.
We may have talked about this. My entire knowledge of Charlie Callis is from The Simpsons.
I also like how the kids, when James Caan's telling the story, the kids are laughing like they know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, James Caan in this episode, like, kudos to him for making fun of himself.
Mm-hmm.
James Caan to me always seemed like a guy you didn't want to piss off. And I don't know if it's because of the Godfather movie, but like, he always seemed kind of like, hey, don't fuck with me type of guy.
Yeah. He seemed like a scary guy who knows guys who could break your legs.
Right. Because even like in like Elf, he seems like he's very standoffish. I mean, that's his character he's played too, but.
Right. But still, he does seem like, even in Elf, like he has friends who are mobs.
Yeah.
Mobsters, rather.
That was one thing, like, he was notorious for being at the Playboy Mansion and just like there all the time, just having many partners. And good on Krabappel being one of those partners.
So I'm looking at James Caan's Wikipedia, and when he was filming The Godfather in 1971, he was known to hang out with Carmine Persico, also known as the Snake, a notorious mafioso and later head of the Colombo crime family. Just one more thing, I'm going to shoot you. And he was also friends of Andrew Russo, another Colombo mobster. The FBI in 1982 intercepted a conversation between Caan and mobster Anthony Fiato. James Caan had Fiato beat up Joe Pesci after Pesci failed to pay an $8,000 bill to a hotel.
So this is where I'm getting this from. I'd be afraid if I was, Matt Selman writing these jokes, like, hope he's not going to like get offended and have me beat up.
Yeah, he has passed away July 6, 2022. But before he died, he did support Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And then I guess in that clip also ends with the old lady. The reading was really fun. Was that Tress?
Yeah. Ribbons and trophies are no comfort on your deathbed.
Yeah. Very fun line reading.
And the judge just popping up to be like, okay, let's move on.
Right. Hey, Steve, let's do the same thing and move on.
Alrighty. So Marge begins to cook at her station when she notices some fish scales flying onto her counter. She begs her neighbor, Luigi, to stop as he is tainting her entry. The Italian chef apologizes, but adds, it was, done with malice aforethought. And Marge can't believe he was doing it on purpose, and Luigi clears things up by saying that he was ruining her food, so he wins.
I hate when I see fish scales on my counter, because it's like, man, stop playing your scales so long, fish.
Yeah.
You don't need to improvise on those scales.
Yeah, you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
What do you jerks know? That's a quality joke.
Marge wonders why everyone at the bake-off is such a meanie bobini, and Agnes Skinner tells her that the muffin-hugging batter biddies can smell weakness a mile away. Weakness named Marge. So as Marge asks why everyone can't just play fair, she notices Agnes dunking her hair in Marge's mixing bowl. Agnes then puts down the batter-soaked hair on her bald head, telling Marge that she is weak.
Huh. Agnes wears a wig. Who knew?
I guess us.
Yeah. Back at home, several parents confront Homer because of what Bart has been teaching their children. Meanwhile, Lisa offers Marge some encouragement while learning just how resourceful her mother happens to be.
Listen here, Simpson. Your son has been exposing our kids to adult themes, unabashed dictionaries, and the lesser short fiction of John Cheever.
Adult themes? What are you talking about?
Now, my Roddy told a joke about an octopus and a set of bagpipes, and the punchline implied that they fornicated.
Ralphie wants to go on the pill.
Stupid Bart. Bagpipes getting down with an octopus. That's classic. Hot bananas coming through.
My dessert!
Come on, Mom. You still have 20 minutes left. You can fix it.
You're right. If I can feed a family of 5 on $12 a week, I can do anything.
You feed us on $12 a week?
I stretch your father's meatloaf with sawdust.
$12 a week in 2004 probably wouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah. I mean, people just lived on spaghetti and salad, so yeah, that makes sense.
And meatloaf, yeah. Because meatloaf, that's probably at least a couple meals worth.
Yeah, you can do meatloaf sandwiches the next day. There's a lot of things you can do with that.
I just love Lisa's reaction. Like, you eat some $12 a week.
Yeah, and the face that Lisa makes after Marge tells her that they stretch it out with sawdust, the meatloaf, is just really good.
So is Lisa just eating sawdust and she doesn't eat meat?
Probably, yeah.
All right.
It's sawdust loaf. But, Craig, I do have a little bit of an issue.
Okay.
So in that clip in the beginning, all those parents come to complain to Homer, and one of those parents is Ruth Powers. But for one thing, she doesn't live in the neighborhood anymore because she just moved.
No.
But also, she's a contestant in the Bake Off because we saw the back of her head. Are we to believe that she has the power to teleport like Kurt Wagner, a.k.a. Nightcrawler?
Maybe in the 2 years, since this episode takes place 2 years in the Simpsons future, her mutant powers kicked in, and she is the Nightcrawler.
Wow. Is that what the Jake Gyllenhaal movie is about? I never saw it.
Yeah, either did I, so I can't say yes or no to that.
Fair enough.
Well, I can't say that the Bake Off judge announces that the baking time is over and the judging will take place in an hour after all the food is cold. So he adds that if one dish is not in the judging room by the time this metal door hits the ground, the entry will be disqualified and eaten by the janitor. So as the door slowly shuts, Marge runs with her now charred dessert dogs and slides under the door just before it closes, just like Indiana Jones. So she assumes she was the last one until the shape of Agnes Skinner slams in the metal door, shouting, "Damn it!" Now Marge looks at the other entries, amazed by how pretty they all are. After thinking about how the others cheated, she gets an evil idea.
These other dishes look so pretty. and those cheaters blacken my sugar wieners. I'd like to give those Betty Crookeds a taste of their own medicine. Yes, medicine. Baby ear medicine. Ugh. Even the Pope couldn't forgive this pizza, and he's letting a lot of things slide these days. Don't worry, there's plenty for all of you. Now who's laughing? Huh? Me. I'm laughing.
Marge being evil is very hilarious to me.
It is. Her sinister laugh is really funny to me.
I'm laughing.
Was 2004? Was that when Nazi Pope was the Pope for a couple of years?
Or is that before when JP2 was there?
Yeah. I don't know my popes. I just know now the new Pope definitely letting things slide with having comedians meet him, like Conan O'Brien and Chris Rock get to meet the Pope.
Yeah.
What's next? Us?
Maybe that'll be a very special episode next week.
Yeah. We didn't interview anyone from The Simpsons, but we got the Pope. He'll be like, I like it, Bart.
And we'll be hitting him with hard-hitting questions like, is it true that you shit in the woods?
And what was your thoughts on the portrayal of Kunta Kinte by Roberto Benigni in Italian Roots?
Maybe life isn't so beautiful.
Okay, jeez.
As Marge ruins the other entries by adding a couple of eardrops to each one, an eyeball witnesses her through a keyhole. On the other side of that door, we see the owner of that eyeball is one Lisa Simpson, who is stunned by her mother's actions, and is equally stunned by the paint on her face and the sign that says, caution, wet painted keyhole.
So it's just reminds me of the joke when Lisa's like, sees a sign, it's like, do not enter, or do. I'm a sign, not a cop.
Yeah, I just love, like, the caution went paint sign, classic, but the went painted keyhole. Just so silly.
I also was saying the other clip too, when Agnes runs into the metal doors, just like a cartoon, like leaves the imprint. Did she leave the metal doors, or is her body still in there?
Ooh, that's a good question. Somebody like, did Seymour have to come and pull her out?
I'm sure he's pulled out of Agnes plenty of times, Steve.
Wow. Jeez.
They're not related. He can fuck her.
Yeah. He's got the Lamb of God, and he's wearing the lamb skin of God.
All right. So, Steve, outside the convention center, Lisa paces back and forth in disbelief that her mother would cheat. Homer walks up to her asking if Marge is winning, and Lisa tells her father that Marge will win the contest but lose her soul. So Homer confirms that Marge will win the contest, and Lisa adds that she'll lose her soul. But Homer once again asks about winning the contest. Who won the contest, Steve? Was it was Elaine, right?
I think so, yeah. I know I didn't. Homer's excited because if Marge becomes Auntie Oven Fresh, they'll get to meet all of the food personalities. He then imagines himself and Marge, now the newly crowned Auntie Oven Fresh, walking into a party for food mascots. He sees Mr. Cashew, parody of Mr. Peanuts, the Kubler Dwarves, obviously a parody of the Keebler Elves, Snip, Crickle, and Poof, parodies of the Rice Krispie treats, or the Rice Krispies. They're treats. Snap, Crackle, and Pop. And then we see parodies of Charlie Tuna, Julius Pringles, the Pillsbury Doughboy, and the now defunct and problematic Land O'Lakes Lady, the Jolly Green Giant, and Toucan Sam.
I like how the Land O'Lakes Lady was just an indigenous person on land, and then what do Americans do best? By getting rid of indigenous people.
Yeah, and keeping the land.
Yeah. I mean, it should have been, they should have just said, hey, Disney, can we just borrow Billy D. Williams for Land O'Lakes, and just had Billy D. Williams on the cover of the butter?
Works every time. I like this. Yeah.
Their stock would have gone up. Like, yeah, I'm going to buy Star Wars branded butter. Of course I'm going to.
Yeah. And they could also have a whole line of food like Boba Fett Boba Tea.
And ham solos. Just one slice of ham.
Yeah.
Or Han Solo cups. Duh.
Yeah. And Yoda-ert. It's like yogurt, but with Yoda on it.
And Chewbacca. You know, it's just tobacco. Chew tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke Skywalker condoms.
Works most of the time.
It could be like, they'd be like blue or green. I love this.
The magnets would be purple.
Yeah, that's the Mace Windu ones, yeah. So as the fantasy continues, Homer walks up to Twinkie, the kid, saying he loves the Hostess-inspired cowboy pastry. He then gives Twinkie a big hug, and the mascot responds saying, "Whoa, easy there, partner." And Homer continues to squeeze until Twinkie shoots white cream out of his back, leaving the snack cake lifeless. And then Julius Prinkles examines the cream and declares that Homer killed him. And Ernie, the leader of the Kubler Dwarfs, cries out, saying that Twinkie was his world. The now angry spokes foods all turn on Homer, chanting, "Blood for cream, blood for cream." And then we go back to reality where Homer is chanting the same. Homer's had a lot of flashes of him getting hurt a lot in this episode.
Yeah, it's interesting. He has a premonition of pain happening. So yeah.
Yeah.
Very funny. Also Count Chocula's, the painting on the wall. It just all around, just a fun scene. But inside the convention center, the judge shows the crowd that it's always difficult to pick 2 finalists, except for this year, which was easy since all the other dishes made them want to vomit. And we see that the other judges are queasy, one of them going to actually throw up. The head judge then announces the 2 finalists, Marge's Blackened Dessert Dogs and Armadillo a la Road by Brandine, no last name giving, which features an armadillo with tire marks and an apple in its mouth. Marge thought that the dish was garbage, not an entry, but as Brandine clarifies, just because it was cooked in a garbage can, don't make it garbage. The judge laughs nervously, and the other contestants are angry, and Lisa is disappointed in her mother. Meanwhile, in the treehouse, Bart ponders the debate of frozen versus fresh juice when Homer shows up to have a man-to-man talk with him.
Canned and frozen juices are more popular than ever these days, but most bachelors we know would prefer to squeeze their own tomatoes. Bachelors are always squeezing stuff.
Would you excuse us, Milton?
It's Millhouse.
Yeah, and your father's no house. Now scram! Maybe I was a little hard on him. Oh well. Bart, I know a father has no right to pry into the life of his 10-year-old son. But what's going on up here?
I'm just spreading the Playdude philosophy. High fives, Norman Mailer, getting some.
What do you think some is?
Toys?
I thought I'd never have to do this, but it's time to tell you the facts of life. Do you know what a boob is?
Oh, yeah.
Good. That'll save us some time. Okay, why do you think your mother and I sleep in the same bed?
Because we're poor?
Exactly. And we're poor because we have kids. And the biological method by which children are created by a man and a woman is...
When he was saying he was going to talk about the facts of life, I wanted him to tell me all about Joe and Tootie and Blair and Natalie and Edna. Mrs. Garrett, of course.
Of course, yeah. And, how it was a spin-off of Different Strokes.
But he does kind of talk about how to stroke.
Yeah.
I love that, do you know why your mom and I sleep in the same bed? Because we're poor. Exactly, because of kids.
Really funny.
Really well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, the beginning, too, the clip of them, with the can and frozen juices, but, again, not understanding the double entendre sex jokes. It's really well done.
Yeah, just Millhouse saying, bachelors are always squeezing something. Just,
yeah.
They're getting some context, but not enough.
Right.
Also in that clip, Homer calls Millhouse Milton, I think kind of just to call his dad Millhouse, which is also funny.
Really funny.
But Bart called Martin Prince Milton in the episode on Bart on the Road. And so it's a funny running gag in the family to call people that don't know Milton.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, hearing how babies are made, Bart screams in terror, shaking their treehouse. He then runs to the Van Houten's home and explains it to Millhouse. Both boys scream and then each head to another house to tell 2 other kids about the birds and the bees. So Uter and Martin join in on the screaming and spreading the word as well, until all the kids of Springfield learn about how life is created. Witnessing this, Homer tells himself that it's better that they hear it from him now rather than hear from their own parents when, they're old enough. Even though they're all 12 at this time, which they should know by now.
That's true, yeah. I learned it from school, from other kids, like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
So that evening, Marge walks into her new kitchen and turns on the light and finds Lisa sitting at the bar. She congratulates her mother, saying that she has a prescription for success. And Marge thinks that's a kind, yet oddly ominous thing to say, and tells Lisa that she needs to get ready for the bake-off finals. Lisa reminds Marge not to forget her secret ingredient, cheating. As Lisa puts Maggie's ear medicine on the counter, Marge tries to defend herself.
Well, it's not my fault. Lisa, the people in this bake-off are stinkers who pushed me like the pushy-wushies they are.
Mom, if I don't have you to look up to, I don't have anyone.
Look, I'll be a winner with feet of clay, like Mickey Mantle. Everyone loves the Mick.
I don't want Mickey Mantle. I want my mom.
Hey, plenty of kids are gonna look up to me when I'm Auntie whatever it is. Right now, people just know me as the wife of a guy who doesn't go to work. Can't you understand that I need this?
I guess Dad has to be my hero now.
Not if you knew what he's been doing.
Hey, people having sex can be your hero, Steve.
Thank you. I'll after this record, I'm going to watch some movies about it and find my new hero.
Well, we could all be like the Mick, Steve. We all want to be like Mickey Mantle.
This is really dumb of me. Did he do something bad?
I mean, probably drank a lot and fucked around with a lot of ladies.
Okay, that's fine.
He was like every boomer's like hero. So
yeah.
Trust me, I know.
Okay, boomer.
I'm not a Cylon from Battlestar Galactica, Steve. Well, the judge announces the final challenge in the Oven Fresh Bake-Off, and Marge looks over to see that Brandine is already ahead of her. Brandine stuffs a funnel into the pig's mouth and pours moonshine down the hog's throat, and surrounds the pig with candy canes. So Marge remarks that she didn't come this far not to cheat. Reaches into her purse to grab the ear medicine. She then notices a card featuring a drawing of Lisa that says, on the outside, "I look up to you." And then on the inside reads, "Because you let me down."
Oof. It's a great card that Lisa made.
I'll try to remember that.
I'm sure your daughter will eventually write it for you.
Probably.
So Marge looks to the crowd and sees Lisa hanging her head in shame. Marge reads the card again and calls it clever and devastating, which it is. She yells to stop the competition, causing the crowd to let out a collective "What?" And Marge tells the audience that she doesn't deserve to win after sabotaging the other entries. The people gasp in disbelief, except for Mo, who thinks that both he and Marge are going to go to hell, where he can finally make his move.
Well, Brandine figures that she won with her festive alcohol, but the pig then vomits up several candy canes, despite the fact that Brandine thought it was dead. So Lisa hugs her mom, and Marge thanks Lisa for helping save her from herself. And Homer tells Marge that she'll always be the best chef in the house, to which Marge responds, BFD, which stands for big fucking deal. Marge adds that she's had Homer's scrambled eggs and that the secret ingredient is whiskey. And Homer remarks that it keeps the kids quiet. So, Steve, here you go. And scrambled eggs made with whiskey.
It's like when my dad would cook.
All right. There we go.
I like it. In the original version of this episode, after Homer says that Marge is the best chef in the house, and she says BFD, which stands, as you said, for big fucking deal, they bleeped out the F. It's muted out. But in reruns and internationally, they leave the F and D because you can just say a letter.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, everyone knows what BFD stands for.
And even if they don't, then who cares?
Right, it's big freaking deal. Who cares?
Yeah.
Back in the Quickie Mart, Lisa sees a bag of anti-oven fresh flour featuring Brandine as the spokesperson. Marge laments that it could have been her, and Cletus adds that he wishes it was. And he begins to cry, saying that now that Brandine is famous, she done run off with James Caan. And then we see Mr. Caan driving in a convertible with Brandine next to him. And back in the Quickie Mart, Cletus vows to fix his wagon. So James Caan drives to a toll booth, complaining about how much he hates them as he pays. Just then, the toll booth operator ducks down, and several hill folk appear, brandishing guns. Brandine runs out of the car just as the yokels begin firing, repeatedly hitting the car, causing a lot of speed holes in there. And much like in The Godfather, James Caan is shot over and over and over again until his bullet-ridden body is lying lifeless and is kicked in the head. He then opens his eyes, saying next time he's gonna fly. And that's our episode.
Do you think when kids watch The Godfather now, because we've seen so many parodies of that scene in not just The Simpsons, but other things parody that scene when Sonny gets killed at the toll booth.
Mm-hmm.
But like watching now, like it's almost comical, that scene.
Right, because it's so over the top.
And we're so used to like more bloody violence in movies that's like at the time was, very not controversial, but I mean, could have been, but like also very graphic.
Right.
Now it's just like, it's silly.
Yeah, and in the UK, when they showed this, that final scene was cut out probably because they deemed it to be too violent.
Yeah, those British people can show a penis and a vagina, but you can't show James Caan getting killed.
Yeah, why don't we show James Caan getting killed by a penis and a vagina? That's something I'd like to see.
Well, Steve, after we record this, you probably can find it on some sort of website.
I want to find my hero. You alluded to something.
Oh, maybe I'll save it for our outro talk, Steve.
Alrighty. Well, in that case, our episode that we watched is done. So let's take a break, think about what we saw, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, Craig, we're back. Let's finish up our discussion on All's Fair Oven War. We'll talk about the things that we liked in this episode, the things we didn't, the most valuable jokester, the things that made us laugh, and we'll find out what we're watching next week. But before we do all of that, let's give each other some gifts, as we tend to do. And Craig, I know you're something of a sports fan, so I have purchased for you your very own honky rink.
You know, when I was watching this episode, I thought, oh, I know what you're going to give me just because I'm a dad. You're going to give me that baby ear medicine. But thank you. I'd rather have the honky rink.
But that's not all. In case you get hungry, I also got you a bread maker.
Oh, again, I thought you were going to give me the baby ear medicine, but I'm glad you did it.
I mean, your baby will be fine with their ear problems, I assume.
Wow, a bread maker. That sounds wonderful. I just got you some baby ear medicine.
Oh, okay. Taste it? Ugh, tastes horrible.
All right, I'll get you another present too, if that's okay. Here's a stack of old Playboy magazines with all the models cut out so you can read the articles. I'm sure there's some funny stories that George Plimpton wrote.
Ooh, and a hot plate, the George Plimpton story. I like it.
Last but not least, a greeting card that I gave you.
Aw.
I drew. It says, I look up to you. And open it on the inside.
Because you went down on me. What?
Oh, is that what I was supposed to write? Okay. Well, enjoy your gift, Steve.
Thank you, Craig. That's very nice of you. Now I give you the gift of speaking. What did you think of this episode? What made you laugh?
I think I said at the beginning that the joke of 3 with Marge going through the kitchen and a breaking apart, two things breaking apart and then her dress breaking apart. Solid joke.
Mm-hmm.
I think James Caan's appearance. Now, I know sometimes we say, like, when a celebrity guest says themselves, it's, you know, kind of self-serving and never that funny, but he did a great job of defacing himself or, you know, poking fun at himself. So I thought that was a great cameo, great use for a celebrity guest. And then Homer's visions of the mascots, which it kind of looked like it was taking place in Burns' office for some reason. You know, maybe money was tight for the sets that week, so they had to just use what they had, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go with those ones. MBJ, I mean, I liked how Marge being kind of evil, cheating was you know, not like Marge's character, which you'd think would be a minus for this episode, but I kind of like her streak, you know. She knew she deserves to win, or did she? But yeah, let's give it to Marge, and with a runner above Nelson right on his whitey-tighty Speedos. How about you?
There were a lot of funny things in this episode. I really liked I know that they'd done it before, but the blaxploitation jokes were funny. Like I say, the honky rink, very good. Millhouse's Speedos, because it's just such a subtle thing. I love, like you said, just the whole idea of Marge going to the kitchen, the rule of 3s that they break. Comedy's all about surprise, and I think that really good, really well done. I think my MVJ has to go to Milhouse. His childlike understanding of how the adult world works is just so funny to me. Like the layover where he hopes to visit his Grammy, his excitement about being a Playdude playmate, having an orgy, whatever they are. That was the Bart thing, but just the two of them having that fun. That just made me laugh a lot. I just love their kind of working things out as kids. Really funny. But also, I think Marge doing the heel turn, really funny as well. Her sinister laugh. just really good. So yeah, those are the two things that made me laugh. But what are your thoughts on this episode as a whole? Like, do you have any theories or any grand notions?
First off, I'll concede you're right. Milhouse does deserve the MPJ for this episode. But that being said, Steve, we say this all the time. When I watched this episode when it originally aired, I was like, it's not a great episode. So let's get that out of the way first.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that bothered me about this episode, and I'm glad we watched this because I've been thinking about this episode, not knowing it's this episode for the longest time, where Marge gets a new kitchen, and you're expecting by the end of the episode, it reverts back to the normal kitchen. So I'm like, watch this episode, I'm like, okay, she's got that fancy new kitchen. So obviously the next episode, when we see the kitchen, it should look like that, but it's not. It looks like it always does. Mm-hmm. So that always bothered me. I know cartoons are cartoons, and there should always be a reset button at the end of cartoons. And this one didn't have it. Like, there wasn't like, oh, well, the kitchen's back to normal because Homer couldn't afford to pay the $100,000, so the contractors put it the way it used to be. Nothing like that. And that always bothered me until I watched it now. When they do that 2 years later, flash forward, which I know is meant to be just a sight gag, but it got me thinking, this all makes sense. 2 years later, they could have that kitchen and not have it revert back to normal because in those 2 years, they're still Bart being 10 and Lisa being 8. They can still tell the stories because in that meantime, the contractors are slowly working on the kitchen or not because it took 2 years. So we're seeing the future, like I said in the podcast. So I'm kind of accepting of it. And little things here and there that, can make sense. Like Apu's no longer in the picture. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Although I guess the one thing that doesn't make sense is Edna's there. And Edna has since passed in the current timeline. So that could be a problem.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those episodes, like some of the jokes, like we talked about, like the Rule 3 joke, or even the dark jokes with the Marge thinking of Hitler, or the Kent State jokes, which I guess I forgot to mention top jokes as well. There's a lot that goes on in this episode for joke telling that, we've never had a guest on this podcast. We never talked to anyone from The Simpsons just because I'm sure they would never talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is out of the Selman episodes. This is the one I'd wished we had and could talk to him about this episode. There's a lot I'd ask him. I think this one has a lot of grounds for just discussing some of the jokes, and it's not on paper. It's not a bad episode. I enjoy this episode. I think I'll rewatch it. And yeah, a lot of things like maybe don't mesh well with at the time when this came out, or the characterization of Marge. And I don't know. I did have a lot of fun with this episode. It's a rewatch for me. So if I gave this a ranking, of course, they have Playdude, which of course is a parody of Playboy. So the best-selling individual issue for a Playboy magazine was the November 1972 edition, which sold, this is how many copies it sold. 7,161,561 copies. Over 7 million copies of that issue were sold.
Wow.
Yeah. So out of that 7 million, I'll give this a 6,243,986 out of 7,161,561.
Wow, that's a great score.
And you know what? I'll take it off. I'll take off 1 million and give it to you. And so it'll only be like the 5 million something.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
But still, a great score. I enjoyed it. How about you?
Well, Craig, yeah. Like you mentioned, I'm sure, and I think I remember when I watched this the first time, I was bummed out by it because I hated the people being mean to Marge, and I hated Marge equally mean to them. Like, I was like, where's humanity? Where's the good in the world? But now that I'm older and far more cynical, I get it. But no, I think the goofy nature of this episode is what really sells it for me. Like, just it's jokes with a plot around it, and I think that works really well for this episode. Like, I just love the way that they do it for the humor rather than trying to move the story along, and I think that's fine. But there is a good story in here about, Marge getting this beautiful house and trying to be productive with it by entering a bake-off and finding her own value, but then cheating and then disappointing her daughter. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think the B plot with Bart and Milhouse is just such a... it's so relatable because any young child is going to see glimpses of adulthood and try and piece those together and try and live up to what they think is adulthood, only to find out that that's grossly misinformed. And I think that they did it really well. And you're right. I think of the Selman episodes that we've seen, this might be one of my top ones just because I think it works so well and it's just a lot of fun. And this is a goofy era of The Simpsons, but I'm okay with it. And I just think it's all around. It's a watch. I think that it was just so well done. James Caan really game in this episode, really having a lot of fun with it. And if I had to give it a score of some kind, I would say that it's a winner. And much like Brandine was the winner of the Bake Off. And another great Bake Off is the Great British Bake Off, which is a popular show in which the winner wins big. And I think the show should win big. So much like on that show, this episode gets flowers and a cake stand. Because that's all you win on the British Bake Show. After 6 weeks of competing, you just win a cake stand. And that's life. Because life is disappointing. But this episode was not. So it's a watch for me.
Now, I've known about the British Bake Off. They win flowers like cooking, like baking flowers, or like the plant flour?
Plant flour, sadly. Oh. No real flowers.
Bummer.
I know.
Not a spelt flour, not a whole wheat flour.
Not even a Durham.
Not a Bull Durham.
Nope. No sex with baseball players or whatever that movie's about.
Yeah, great, fun, episode. I think you're right. Our cynical nature as adults really make this episode better, because if we were kids when this came out, of course we thought differently then, and more of a black and white mentality,
right?
Like Marge would never do this, but no, she's only human.
Yeah, and we're all human and we all enjoy things, and maybe, just maybe, we'll enjoy the episode that we're going to watch next week. But to know what episode that is, we're going to need our good old friend, the Wheel of Random. All right, Craig, let's give it a spin to see which season we're in. Boo-doo. Alrighty, we have season 25.
All right, season 25.
Alrighty, let's give it another spin to see which episode we're watching. Ba-doop. Alrighty, we have episode 22, season 25, episode 22. Now, Craig, as you know, as we always do, if you can name the title of this episode correctly, we no longer do the podcast. So what do you think?
I think I better get it right so we never have to do this again.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, Steve, this was called All's Fair in Oven War, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is a play on the term All is Fair in Love and War, which is a proverb attributed by John Lil's Euphies. There's also, of course, the album by Blessed by Broken Heart, which is All Fair in Love of War. Don't forget Ronnie Millsap's song, All is Fair in Love and War, and the second episode of the 9th season reality TV show Total Divas. So I think this episode will be called Total Lisas.
Total Lisas. That's very interesting. But sadly, that is not the title. But I'll give you the title. It is entitled The Yellow Badge of Cowardage. Now,
it's closer is The Yellow Badge of Courage.
Mm-hmm.
But Courage. Okay.
What do you think that episode is about, Craig?
Well, yellow is the color of The Simpsons. Badge is what you wear on your shirt. Cowardage is cowardly. And I think of the lion. So, I think Lisa is in the Springfield Elementary School production of The Wizard of Oz, where she plays the Cowardly Lion. But Lisa's mad because she wanted to play the Tin Man.
Oh.
So she ends up getting a job at Krusty Burger, and in the B story, Homer and Marge fake Grandpa's death so they can collect his Social Security checks.
Oh, that sounds like fun. But sadly, that is not what happens. So this episode, The Yellow Badge of Cowardage, first aired May 18th, 2014, and in it, Bart feels guilty when Nelson helps him win a race, besting Milhouse. Meanwhile, when the 4th of July fireworks are canceled due to budget constraints, Homer tries to help.
It's like a 4th of July episode. Steve, when does this episode air for us?
Why, it's going to air on the 4th of July.
So when everyone's shooting off their fireworks and eating their grilled wieners, they can listen to our podcast.
Yeah, maybe they'll enjoy our episode while enjoying some dessert dogs.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed this episode, Steve, so I hope everyone did too.
Yes, and we hope that you enjoy listening to us. And if you do, contact us. You can do so On the socials like Instagram or YouTube or even Threads at 13Simpsons.
Don't forget to leave a review, 5-star review equivalent on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast you listen to. You don't have to write a real review, though. Tell us your favorite James Caan story.
And you can always email us at 13simpsons@gmail.com.
And if you want to talk to us via voicemail, well, you don't actually talk to us, just leave a message. Go through the show's notes, scroll down, and it'll be a little button that says leave a voicemail. Just do that. And we'd like to hear from you. And we also want to see you wear us. So go to tpublic.com/user/AnnoyedGruntBoys for some Annoyed Grunt Boys merch.
That's right. Thank you so much for listening. And tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell your baking competition. All right, for this week, I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Steve.
And I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Craig.
And remember, ribbons and trophies are no comfort on your deathbed.
And I'm not wearing clothes. Why not splay myself on a pool table?
Some guys like a challenge. Not me.
I sugar wieners.